Hi guys, we are on our third week talking about perimeter and area, and so think back, we've done circles, we've done rectangles. This week we are going to work with triangles, so we're just changing shapes. So the title of these notes is going to be Perimeter of Triangles. And this is pretty straightforward, especially if you've understood what perimeter is already. And so let's just remind ourselves of the definition of perimeter. Perimeter means the distance around an object. And so when we're talking about triangle, triangles comes in all shapes and sizes. You probably remember that there's such a thing as a right triangle, where you have this angle right here is a right angle. You probably also remember that there's such a thing as a equilateral triangle, where all the sides are the same length. And you probably also remember that there's something called an isosceles triangle, where two sides are the same and the other side is maybe a little bit shorter or a little bit wider. We also have something called a scalene triangle that can just be any side, any length. So it's not really necessarily important that you remember the names of all of these, but just that triangles comes in all shapes and sizes. And so when we're finding perimeter, we just want to find the distance around an object. Nice thing about this, there is no formula. You just add up all the sides. So to find perimeter of triangles, all we are going to do is add all three sides and just add them together. And so let's look at an example of the perimeter of a triangle. And so let's say example number 1, we are given a triangle and it looks like this. Let's say this side, well, let's draw the triangle first. So let's say I have a triangle that looks like this. Let's say that we're told that this side is 10 inches, this side is 12 inches, and this side is 3 inches, and we're asked to find the perimeter. The only thing we're going to do here is add up all these sides. So 3 plus 10 plus 12. Remember, perimeter is going to be the entire distance around. So this distance, and this distance. So we're just going to add those numbers together. You're welcome to use a calculator, or if you can do that in your head, awesome. 3 plus 10 plus 12. And that equals 25. Now, I didn't write this down, but we should probably put P is equal to, since we're talking about perimeter. So P is equal to 25, and remember, put your units. So we want to say inches. And that's really the basics of finding the perimeter of a triangle. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to make sure we're clear about before we do some examples that maybe don't look like this. So let's talk for a second about what we mean by the height of a triangle. So let me just give you a picture. Again, this is not an example. We just want to make sure we're clear on something. If we look at a triangle that looks like this, what would you say the height of that triangle is? Well, the height is from the lowest point to the highest point. And for this triangle, it's this side length right here. This is what we would call the height of the triangle. So if you're given a triangle that looks like this, and you're given some measurements, if this is 5 and this is 6 and this is 7, then if I say what is the height of this triangle, then you would say 5. It's that side length right there. Now, it gets a little trickier when we're talking about the height of a triangle if we look at maybe an equilateral or an isosceles triangle. So if you're talking about the height of a triangle like this, we're talking about, again, from the tip top all the way down to what we call the base of the triangle. And so up here it was really easy because we could see it. When we're talking about the height here, the height is actually an invisible line going from the base up to the tip top. So we would actually have to draw a line through the center of this triangle that doesn't really exist as a side, and this would be the height. So sometimes you are going to see pictures of triangles that maybe look something like this, and they have this middle line drawn in and maybe given a number, and that's what we call the height. So maybe we're given that maybe this side is 11 inches, this is 11 inches, this is 15 inches, but the height is 6. Now, this height is going to be important for the next video, which is when we calculate area of a triangle. Right now, we don't really need to know this height, but sometimes they will give it to you anyway. If I wanted to find the perimeter of this triangle, I actually don't need this middle number to find the distance around. So again, sometimes you're going to see it, but it has nothing to do with the distance around a triangle. It's just measuring the middle of the triangle, the height from the base to the top point. And so, example number 2 is going to be a triangle that sort of looks like that. It's going to be given, we're going to be given the height. So let's look at example number 2. And let's draw a triangle that looks like that. So something that maybe looks like a isosceles triangle. And it's also going to give us the height. So let's say that we have a measurement here of 7 meters. Let's say that this side is also 7 meters. And let's say that we're given the bottom is 6 meters. And let's say that they tell us that this middle measurement here is 8 meters. So we're given a measurement for the middle, and now we're asked to find the perimeter. So we're looking for perimeter. Talking about P, P is equal to something. Well, remember, perimeter is just the outside edge. We do not need to add this 8, so we're going to go around the outside edges and get all these numbers. 7 here, plus 7 more here, plus 6 across the bottom. We do not need to add 8. One of the most common mistakes here is adding that middle number. So when another good rule of thumb is you should have 3 numbers that you're adding. Triangles only have 3 sides. When you're adding to find the perimeter around the edges, you should be adding 3 numbers together. So again, you can use your calculator, do that in your mental math. 7 plus 7 plus 6 gives us an answer of 20, and our units here are meters. So do not let that middle number there, that height, throw off your calculations of perimeter. Let's look at one more example. And this example, we're actually going to be given perimeter. So we're going to call this example number 3. There we go. And let's say we're given a triangle that looks something like this. And we're told that this side is 2 miles. And this side is 12 miles. And let's say we're given in the problem that the perimeter of this triangle is 25 miles. What is the missing side? What is the missing side? So we want to know what is that side right there if they tell us that the perimeter is 25. So here's what we already know. We know that the perimeter is 25. We know that the distance of this plus this has to come out to be 25. Well, let's go ahead and see how much do we have here in distance already. How much do we already know? Well, we know that we have a side of 2 and a side of 12. So we're going to add those two. The sides were already given together. 2 plus 12 is equal to 14. Now, I want to know the missing side. Well, if the distance completed is 25, then to find this missing piece, what I need to do now is take my total of 25. That's the total perimeter. And I'm going to subtract the 14. That's the sides that I was given. So I'm going to subtract in order to find that missing amount. And so we take 25, subtract 14 away. You might be able to do that mentally or by hand, and that gives us 11. So the missing side is equal to 11 miles. And so those are some examples for finding perimeter of a triangle. Go ahead and try the quizzes. Make sure you've written these examples down and see what you can do with perimeter.